the zip tie cup. That is what I'm affectionately calling the coral cone from New Zealand. I tried it, so let's talk about it. Hi, and welcome to the Period Nirvana channel. My name is Kim Rosas, and I'm a reusable period products expert, and I test a lot of menstrual cups and discs. And when I say a lot, I've tried over 65 different menstrual cups and discs in the last 10 years. Saw a new product. It's called the Coral Cone in New Zealand. I love something that looks out of the ordinary, and I'm always hoping it's cool. Novelty cups can go very wrong or very right. And a friend of mine, Jaime, who lives in New Zealand, was able to source one for me and ship it to the United States. Just a quick reminder, if you need any assistance finding the right menstrual cup or disc, make sure you check out the quiz on periodnirvana.com. And if you're shopping and you're in the US, you can visit my store, Period.Shop, and any of the purchases you make there support the free educational content that I provide on social media, so thank you. I am not going to be able to make this package fit like it did when I first received it, but this is the packaging for the coral cone. When I received it, it came with both sizes. It's in this really cute pouch, just a gray kind of felt. I'm not sure what the fabric is, and it says, "Protecting the ocean one period at a time." It has a snap. Now, what I thought was really interesting about Coral Cone is that it doesn't come with a booklet of instructions. Each cup is actually wrapped in tissues that are the instructions, which, for longevity is probably not great, but at the same time, like, how often are you going to look back at your instruction manual? So this is a very eco-friendly option. There are no illustrations, it's just text, but they do have information on their website. The coral cone comes in two sizes. They're mini, which is their small. This holds 15 milliliters, which is a very small amount. And they're midi, which is their larger size, and this holds 25 milliliters, which also does come in under the average for what, cups of this diameter hold. The coral cone is an extremely uniquely designed cup. It has some really interesting features, some of which might be too interesting, some of which are definitely just interesting. So let's cover it. First, we're going to just start with the midi size. The features are the same on both. It's just one is a larger cup. It is a very pronounced screw grip. It kind of circles the bottom. Very, very pronounced. It has branding here. It has suction holes around the top. And the rim has like a flared lip. So there is space underneath this lip all the way around, and a tiny little divot. I have never found that divots make pouring menstrual cups easier. So I feel like it's just a feature that people think, oh, that's smart, you can pour the blood out easier. It really does not matter. Blood is super chunky. But the major feature here that no other cup has done is this zip tie stem. What you might be thinking is that this stem is adjustable, and it's not really. You can sort of do this and maybe shorten it a little, but once you pull it, it just goes right back to its length. So this stem is either an on or off stem. They do ask you not to trim this down, meaning that if you are someone who doesn't have a super high cervix, but you have low cervix days, and you want a stem for your higher cervix days, this is still probably going to be too long. So when you thread it through, you have 3 loops. You can go to the first loop and then, or first slot, pull back through, pull, and then because if you don't go through the third one, it points directly towards your vaginal wall. So to keep it straight, they have a third loop, and that keeps it more, straight. And this is, I guess, technically like a ribbon stem is what they call it. It looks like a zip tie, so I keep calling it a zip tie. I'm sure they'd love that. I felt like, and of course, having gone through the design process of a product, it's so annoying when people point out features like, you should have done this. It's like, we did it, everything, we did was for a reason. But I do think, oh, look, if they could have just found a way for it not to come undone and done a loop, you could have a shorter stem and put your finger through that. But if you did that on this design, it would come unthreaded and the stem would come out, so you can't. But, looking at it, obviously a lot of thought went into it, so I'm sure all of this is for a reason. and it might not have been manufacturable that way, or was just not part of their design concept, or didn't work out when they had the idea and it didn't work. So now I'm going to pull that back and you'll see it does go back. It threads through a little section on the bottom of this cup. It comes already with the stem threaded, but if you have a lower cervix like me, chances are you're going to need to remove the stem to wear that cup. The coral cone is a very average firmness cup. It is rated a 3 on my scale, the Period Nirvana scale. It comes in right around where Diva cup and some of these very average cups come in. It's just like right in the middle, not too firm, not too soft. And for me, a 3 firmness works really well for a menstrual cup. Comfort-wise, it doesn't put, much, if any, pressure, meaning like I might pee a little bit slower, but I don't feel pressure. I just notice my pee comes out a little bit slower with something like this cup at a 3. And folding wise, even though it is a unique design, it is going to fold every which way you want it to fold. It can do the C fold, it can do the punch down, it could do the 7 fold. It could do all of the folds you want for a menstrual cup. Part of the capacity is it looks like it's a longer cup that has more room, but this is all filled in, it's solid. So you're losing some of that capacity. Not a big deal unless you have a heavier period, but if you have a heavier period, even their larger one is not a super high capacity option. So it is 25 milliliters for the larger midi, and it's only 15 for their small mini. They are different colors, and this is how they come. This slate gray blue is always their smaller. This darker denim looking blue is always their larger. But I did want to show that it is a pretty high cervix cup. So this is next to a kind cup. You have a lot of length here. This is another New Zealand brand, hello. And here is their high cervix cup, and this one in the large is longer than this cup. And there aren't many cups that sort of have an adjustable length stem. It's either you trim it or you don't. In this case, still the same. You can either take it off or use it. You're not supposed to trim it. The Flex is the cup that sort of has an adjustable length stem. But if you take the Flex as long as it will go and compare here, this cup is still longer than the Flex. As far as sizing goes, these are very average. This is a 44 millimeter diameter. This is a 41 millimeter diameter. One thing you can do if you want to research menstrual cups that are, from around the world is go to thecupfinder.com. It's a new resource I just came out with, and you can filter and narrow down exactly the diameter or the length or whatever you want. It's a really fun tool to play with, and these cups, the coral cone, even though they're not available in the US and they're not on Period.Shop, they're on there, so you'll find them in the results. Conceptually, I do kind of like the idea of this cup because it's nice that instead of trimming something off, you can just remove it, but you can put it back on for higher cervix days. In my own trials, I did try to keep it on and see, because it is so thin and very flexible, if I could still wear it even if it came out of my body like a tampon string does. All right, so this thing definitely sticks out entirely. I'm just gonna go with it, and then if it gets on my nerves, I'm gonna tuck it in. But for me, that friction was too much. Update, I walked 2 steps, and it's already on my nerves, so I'm gonna tuck it in. I could not wear it with it hanging out of my body like a tampon string. I could definitely feel it, and that was not comfortable for me. So ultimately, for the rest of my time using the cup, I did take this stem entirely off. Just came back from that walk, and I think it's time to not have the stem. It's not agreeing with me. So I'm gonna take out the cup even though it's early. Now, I don't wanna lose this. I'll put it in a ring dish. I'm gonna try it without the string just because my cervix is lower at the beginning of my period, and I would like to experience the comfort of a cup without the rubbing, but I think it'll be okay if I just take off the string. And I put it basically in a jewelry dish next to my sink so that I wouldn't lose it. And that is another thing about like tools, things that come off, or things that you need to use with a menstrual cup. If it's not attached to it permanently, you do run the risk of losing that piece. And if you need it down the road, it's gone. you know, when I get nitpicky about reviews, it's usually about cleaning and the cleanliness of something. I am not like super stringent about the how much I clean my cups. I clean them, I wash them, but I don't boil everything I use every month. I'm just not paranoid about it like that. You're supposed to, but I don't. But what I don't like is places where gunk can accumulate that you start having to scrub. That becomes something that bothers me because like it's body stuff and it gets crispy. And so I've used this very specific cup because I only have the one. And usually I don't like to film stuff that's been in my body, but you can't tell. But before I filmed, I noticed like all around these little lines was stuff that had, you know, not gotten cleaned off with just a normal washing routine. Meaning every time you wash it, if you don't sort of like really get into these nooks and crannies around the edges, you're going to start accumulating debris. You have to kind of get a bristle or like a cup wipe or something and wipe that off. It has some edging, like raised edging on the rim as well, which I don't love, again, just from a place where things can gather. Branding is sort of necessary. This one's not too raised, so that doesn't bother me. Those cups are going to have some branding. As long as you don't raise it too much, not a big deal. It is shiny on the inside, which makes like kind of dumping and cleaning easy, and it has just more of a softer texture on the outside, which I prefer to feel. I don't like tacky feeling cups and discs. It feels cheap. This actually feels really nice, and I know on their website they're telling us that it's made from like super high quality medical grade silicone, so that's another plus in that category. Their suction holes they look really small from the outside, but I didn't find them hard to clean, which was nice. But I always do the fill it with water, put my hand on top, flip it, and squeeze trick. Which works brilliantly for cleaning any gunk out of your suction holes. So this stem, when I tried it myself, almost had to go immediately. It was very uncomfortable for me. I am unfortunately not able to kind of review the cup with saying, oh, this stem helps if you have a high cervix, because I can't speak to that. I don't have a high cervix, and I had to take it off. Now, from a pull test, it is thin, but it does feel like very sturdy. If I compared it to the Luma disc, which also has sort of a long string, like this has way more flex to it, and when you pull, like it goes down and gets really thin. This one, even though it is thin, does not have as much flexibility and give, meaning that it seems a lot sturdier, and I don't have any concerns pulling this and really feeling like it's going to break. I don't feel that flimsiness like the Luma string. I have to tell you, and I can't speak to what makes this product so unique, which is the, you know, zip tie stem, but just as a cup, I really surprisingly, like it really surprised me how much I liked this cup. It's been pretty much entirely leak-free and comfortable this whole time, except I did have to take the stem out. It is super comfortable. It was the perfect firmness for me. It was pretty easy to insert. Even with these ridges, which I thought might be uncomfortable just theoretically looking at them, I could not feel them, but it was not as aggressive. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't like read it with my vaginal walls, which has happened with another product. They had some bumps on the edges, and I could really detect them. So, you know, that made me nervous, but it was totally fine. But I'll tell you my favorite part of this cup, other than the comfort and it did not leak, was inserting the cup was really easy. And there's this thing where when you insert a cup, if it opens kind of soon, well, then you just do this. You just kind of push it up. Some cups have a very flimsy bottom, and so your finger just kind of caves right into it. This, with one finger, I could just sort of find this dip and just guide it up, or if I wanted to use my thumb and my finger, I could do that. So what I don't know about the coral cone is if this thin ribbon stem is enough to be able to wiggle the cup down to get the base where you can pinch it to break the seal. Since the stem does nothing to break the seal, you cannot just pull it like a tampon string. And depending on the design of the cup, there's more sturdiness to that longer stem. This is not sturdy. And so I am a little bit worried about how that's going to work in the body. So I can't test it out myself in a body. Glass vases are not the same. But I did want to demonstrate that as a counterpoint to this being for a high cervix. It just might not have enough leverage to actually be beneficial in that scenario. So just as a cup, not talking about the stem function, I very much loved using it, and I don't have the best experience with cups lately, and I have completely moved to preferring discs, but this one worked as well for me as a disc. I did not feel it at all, and it was kind of fun going back to using a cup because I don't usually use them, and having the experience of having blood in it, because when I remove disc, it just kind of like nice to go back to having like a cup of blood to dump, which for me is fun. You know, it's a fun little process. When I first discovered the brand, they did not have anything on their website. They didn't have actual pictures. They didn't have anything that told you what the cup did. They were just saying how revolutionary it was. I did find in the back end on accident, I just texted it to my husband. I said, oh, this new cup brand from New Zealand's coming out, because, you know, we talk about menstrual cup stuff like you do as a married couple in this business. And when I linked him the website, a preview from their website came up, and it showed this cup with the stem threading through, made it look like it was a crochet hook that you use to stick in your vagina and remove it. My husband caught on. He was like, that is not a crochet hook. That is like a zip tie. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I hope you're right, because if that is a crochet hook removal, that is not a good product design. And so I am dumb. He is smart. He was right. It is basically a zip tie stem. So if you have a super high cervix and you happen to live in New Zealand, and I don't know how many of you are in that category, this is a really intriguing concept. But even if you don't have a high cervix, I did find the cup itself to be super comfortable. So you could just take the stem off and use it as a regular menstrual cup. And I take the stem off and cut the stem off of every menstrual cup I use. So for me, having a cup that you can remove the stem on and just have like a rounded, smooth base is not a bad thing. I never have stems on my cups. Now, if you are outside of New Zealand, I really don't know what to tell you. This is just a fun video for you to learn about a menstrual cup that is not available where you live. At least for now. I don't know what their plans are, but I definitely enjoyed using it. I think it's a cool idea. I don't know if the stem is what makes it cool or just the fact that it is like a nicely designed cup, but I appreciated some of the little touches. This pouch is very nice. You know, I like that they did the tissue paper thing because they're thinking outside of the box. I think they have a really nicely designed website you can use for guidance, even if the language is a little bit annoying at times. And it just seems like a really high quality brand. So when things go right for my reviews, there's not a lot to talk about, and it's not very exciting. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you are new here and you want to learn more about menstrual cups and discs or watch reviews, make sure you subscribe and find me on all of my social media networks. I am at Period Nirvana. We will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Their website does crack me up. There's a lot of euphemisms, cutesy names for vaginas. You know, funny names I like. I like, you know, vulgar funny names. It also uses the word Forkin, but it really does get old after you start reading through all their copy, and it's like Forkin, 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 vajayjay, hoo-ha, and you're like, oh.